Alright, so we're going to begin to work on the My Workouts mobile application. I have a couple tabs open here. I'm going to go over the technologies we'll be using. First is Ionic 2, which is a mobile framework that allows us to build mobile applications using JavaScript, HTML, CSS, and it actually uses Angular by default, and Ionic 2 uses Angular 2. Alright, now this is the landing page. If we go down here and click Preview Ionic 2, it's going to give us some instructions to get it set up. It's pretty easy. Alright, so we're going to go through that. Now, you also want to have Android SDK tools installed, and you actually have to install Android Studio, which is an IDE to create Android apps. Now, this program is more geared towards building native apps with Java, so we're not going to use the IDE at all, but we do need to download it in order to have the SDK, in order to have the virtual device. So go ahead and just click download and just go through the installer, get that installed, and then you probably have to install the virtual plugin. So what you would do, let me just open up. Let's see, Android Studio. Okay, and we're going to go. Now you probably get a screen asking you to create a new project. Just go through that. It doesn't matter, this project, we're not using it. It's just to get into this screen. So then we can go to, let's see, this little icon up here, which is the SDK manager. Okay, so you should see something like this. I have Android 6.0. If we click the SDK Tools tab, you'll see what you have installed. Now this right here, Intel Emulator Accelerator, you're going to need that, so check that. And also, where is it? Where is it? Oh, right here, Android Auto API Simulators. Okay, so you want to check those. They're probably not installed by default, so check those okay to install them and get that set up. All right, and then if you go to this icon right here next to it, which is the AVD manager, you can add and remove virtual devices. You probably have Nexus as a default, which is okay. If you want to add another one, you can go to create virtual device and choose what device you want. Okay, I'm using the Galaxy Nexus API 23. Alright, so just get that stuff set up, and you should be able to set it up before you start building your application. Alright, now next thing I want to go over is what we're doing for storage. Okay, we're going to use mLab, or formerly known as MongoLab, and we used this back a couple projects ago. It's basically just a remote MongoDB database that we can use. Alright, so if you don't have an account, go ahead and sign up. Signing up is free, and there's a free package that you can use as well. Okay, since I'm here, I'm going to go ahead and create a new database. Okay, you can see right here I have My Workouts Dev. That's the one I used for development. Now I'm going to go ahead and click Create New. Alright, so you should see a screen like this. What we're going to do is keep the default of Amazon Web Services. I'm going to click Single Node and then choose Sandbox, which is free. Alright, and then down here we can give it a name. Let's see, I'm going to call it My Workouts App. I'm not sure if it might be unique, so you might not be able to call it that. If not, just call it whatever you want. Alright, so now we have this new database. You can see the wrench, that means that it's getting set up. Now it's a check mark, which means it is set up. So let's click on that. And first thing we're going to do here is add a user. Okay, so we'll click Add Database User. And of course you could make this read-only, but we're going to leave that unchecked. Okay, so we'll click Create. Now we have a user. Now if we click on collections, we're going to want to add a collection, and we're going to call this Workouts. Create. And that should be it. We should be all set to start adding stuff here. Okay, so while we're at it, let's just go ahead and add a couple records to work with. So if we click on the Workouts collection, and click Add Document. We'll go ahead and just add a workout here. Okay, so it's going to be a JSON object. It's going to have a title. Okay, we'll just call it morning run. It'll have a note. Okay, we'll say 5 a.m. morning run for 1 hour. Alright, and then we're going to have a type. Okay, so the type will say jogging. Alright, now I'm going to copy this and let's click create and go back. Okay, now we have a record and you can see it automatically put an ID in for us as well. Alright, let's add another one. Okay, so for this one I'm going to change it to, let's say, chest and tricep. Chest and triceps, and then in here we'll say quick chest and tri workout for 30 minutes. Okay, we're going to change the type here to free weights. Alright, and we'll go ahead and add one more. So this one, we'll change this to afternoon run. And let's see, we'll say 1 p.m. morning, 1 p.m. afternoon run for 1 hour. Okay, we'll keep it as jogging. Alright, so we have 3 records to work with, so our database is all set. Now let's go back to the Ionic. Alright, now we'll have to install it globally, and you want to make sure you use Ionic at beta. That's going to make sure that we're using the version 2, latest version. Alright, so we're going to use, let me just get out of that. We're going to use the Windows command line here because there can be some issues with git bash when using the Ionic CLI. So let's go ahead and say cmd, and we're going to make sure you run it as an administrator. Alright, and then I'm going to just navigate. Oops. Okay, I want to go to users. You just want to go to wherever you want the project created. So I'm going to be users, Brad, and desktop, and A2, what did I call it? A2 underscore projects. Alright, so let's go ahead and install Ionic globally. So we want to do npm install g Ionic at beta. Yep, okay. So let's run that. I already have it installed, but this isn't going to hurt. And once that's done, we can then use Ionic like this. Okay, Ionic start, and then whatever we want to call it. And we need to make sure we use the v2 flag here as well. Okay, so now that that's set up, we can go ahead and create our project. So we'll say Ionic start and call it my workouts, and make sure we add the v2 and enter. Now, depending on when you're watching this, you may not have to include the beta. It might just be Ionic. There's really no way for me to tell you, so you may want to just check the documentation out and see if there's anything different. Alright, so this takes quite a while. Alright, so that should be all set. Now, if we look at the commands here, we can run this with Ionic serve. Okay, we can also add platforms like iOS and Android. Now we're going to strictly deal with Android because with iOS you need to be on a Mac. You also need developer license, which I think is like $99 or something like that. All right, now what we're going to do is cd into my workouts, and let's go ahead and try Ionic serve. Okay, and I believe it should open on, yep, here we go, it opened on my other screen. So this is what it looks like. So it gives you a nice little boilerplate template. Now when working with this, I like to keep the browser small because it kind of replicates mobile device. So we have this, we have a tab 2, tab 3. These are just different pages that they give us to work with. Okay, there's no content on these two. Alright, so we have that set up. Now we're also going to want to install something called Cordova. And Cordova is also known as PhoneGap. And what that does is it allows us to use features that we couldn't use with just Ionic. So things like the camera, what else? Your contacts, things like that. Okay, things that are native to the phone. So you can kind of replicate a native app. All right. Also, it's going to allow us to use the emulator. Okay, we can use a command called Cordova emulate. So let's go ahead and stop the server. We can do that with Q. All right, and then what we'll do is install Cordova globally. So npm install g Cordova. And I just want to go back to this documentation page as well. Okay, because if we go down here, this is where it's telling us to do that. Okay, the sudo is only if you're using Linux. Okay, and once that's done, what we can do is we can add a platform. Okay, you can add iOS, but like I said, we're not going to deal with that. So we're going to go ahead and add the Android platform. All right, so let's do, where is it? Ionic platform add Android. I think that's it, right? Platform add, yep. Did I run it? Okay. So now that we did that, I think that we can run Cordova emulate. Okay, and remember you have to have the Android SDK set up to be able to run this. And there's other emulators that you can use as well. Alright, now what I've been noticing is that when I run Cordova emulate, it just opens the emulator up. It doesn't actually run the program. So what I've had to do is just stop it with Control-C and then run it again while the emulator's open. I'm not sure why it does that, but that's at least what I'm experiencing. Okay, so now it should open. And there we go. So we now have our application running on a virtual Android device. All right, now I'm not going to really keep going back and forth into the emulator. I just wanted to show you that we can do this. We'll be working in the browser for the most part. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and just close that out. Click power, close it out. All right, so we're all set to start our development. We have our database set up. So in the next video, we'll start to work on Angular 2 and Ionic.